I myself have been married for 56 years. Unfortunately, to 4 different women.
You can work out a whole lot of shit in the hours on target.
Every week on the Moth Podcast, we share stories that are funny, strange, heartbreaking, and above all, true.
I refuse to settle for being the future when I can be right now.
Listen along by searching The Moth wherever you get your podcasts.
Hi, I'm Alexis Ohanian. You may know me as one of the co-founders of Reddit, but more recently, a large part of my identity is being a father to my wonderful daughters. In my podcast, Business Dad, I hope to open the conversation about working parents a bit. You'll get to hear from a wide range of business dads, from Rainn Wilson and Guy Raz to Todd Carmichael and Shane Battier, to find out how they balance being a dad with a successful career. Business Dad is available now, so be sure to listen and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts.
In 2005, 2 brothers hit the road to chase demons and fight monsters.
Fighting a couple of angels, too.
And eventually save the world.
A bunch of times. Over 15 years, this series has built one of the most dedicated fan bases in all of entertainment, and that fan base is near and dear to our hearts.
That's right. I'm Rob Benedict. I played Chuck Shirley, a.k.a. God.
And you do a darn good job, too, buddy.
Aw, thanks.
Well, I'm Richard Speight Jr. I played Loki, the Trickster, and Gabriel, and I directed a bunch of episodes.
Wow, is that it?
I directed you. I don't know. What do you think?
Though we worked on the show for years, we never sat down and watched the entire series.
But that was then, and this is now.
That's right. We are watching each episode and inviting the actors, the writers, producers, and crew to join us in digging into the story, the characters, and the mythology.
These guests share some fantastic behind-the-scenes stories with us. You're going to love those, and you're going to get our honest opinion about each and every episode. That's right. Those guests share some fantastic behind-the-scenes stories with us, and each episode gets a full, honest, and unfettered review from Rob and Rich. And you get to learn a little bit about how TV is made. Lord knows we have.
A warning, there are spoilers. And don't get frustrated that we haven't caught details for multiple viewings or that we know what happens 3 seasons from now. This is the first time we're watching these episodes. And you're there for the ride as we watch with our virgin eyes.
Oh, that's creepy. Thanks for joining us on our journey as we deepen our understanding about why you love this series so much.
Hey everybody, this is Rob Benedict.
And I'm Richard Speight Jr.
And we're talking about Season 5, Episode 11, Sam Interrupted.
Wait, what's the title of the episode?
Sam Interrupted.
What?
See, I knew you were going to do. I knew you were going to try to interrupt me.
There we go.
But it didn't work. As always, want to thank all of you for listening to the show.
We like to call you listeners.
I don't. I call you people because I recognize you as human beings. But Richard
Not
just
me.
calls you listeners.
As far as I'm concerned, you're a sea of robots trained to do one thing and one thing only. Listen to this podcast.
And I know that you're human beings.
Who have a choice in the matter.
Yes.
And have chosen to listen to this podcast.
Have chosen
You're
to
not
be-
robots.
No, have chosen to be trained to listen to this podcast.
Exactly. Like robots.
All right. And this is an episode called Sam Interrupted.
They rub it.
Sam and Dean head to Ketchum, Oklahoma. Have you been to Ketchum, Rich?
No, I've been to throw them.
I've been to Mustardom. That's so stupid. It's so hilarious. Sam and Dean head to Ketchum, Oklahoma to investigate the deaths of 5 patients that have died in a psychiatric hospital.
That's no bueno.
The boys tell the doctor there the truth about them hunting monsters and trying to prevent the apocalypse.
Yeah, they do it so that people think they're crazy because their whole life sounds crazy.
Right. This gets them instantly admitted for evaluation. Nurse Foreman gives them each thorough exams. Also, this might be in the fun facts portion of the episode, but Nurse Foreman, named thus, I'm sure, because Milos Forman was the director of One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, a movie that won Oscar and was about people in a psychiatric ward.
Well, if we're going to talk about things that might be in fun facts, when Sam and Dean are checking into the hospital and they're talking to the doctor, and their last name is Babar.
Uh-huh.
And the guy says, you know,
And then
their
a
last name's
children's
Babar.
book.
Isn't there
Yeah.
a children's book about an elephant named Babar? That's all from the movie Fletch.
Fletch. Yeah. I wonder if, do you think that they know what they're acknowledging there?
Yes, they had to have. It's
They had to
too
have.
spot on.
Because it was almost just like stole the joke. 'Cause,
Exactly.
of course, in Fletch, he says that's one B or two. Two, B-A-B-A-R. That's just one. Yeah, but not right next to each other.
Exactly.
And also, if we're going to go into fun facts, the brothers then track down Martin Creaser, spelled here like Caesar with an R, but incorrectly because Creaser is
Has
spelled,
an ass in it.
Creaser.
That's what Brad always says. There's ASS in Creaser. There's an S in the middle of Creaser.
Named after cameraman Brad Creaser.
Brad Creaser.
Martin Creaser, a former hunter that's been committed to the hospital. He originally called them, but is in no shape to do the hunt himself. The brothers meet other patients, go through therapy sessions, and Dean even gets assaulted with a kiss from a fellow patient.
Yeah, I noticed that.
Which at the
Did you
time
pick up
I
on
was
that,
like,
Robbie?
wait, what is happening in this mental hospital? It's very CW.
And why aren't you in that mental hospital? You thought to yourself.
No, maybe that was you, but sure. The brothers go visit a patient who claims to have seen the monster, but find him dead.
Oh, Mo.
Later, Sam goes to the morgue to investigate the body further and discovers a hole in the dead patient's neck and his brains sucked dry.
They know that because Sammy slices open his skull and takes out the brain. He's really gifted with surgical tools for a non-medical professional.
Adept at a bone cutter, as you call it.
I will say this about this episode. There is a severe lack of security in this hospital.
Oh, man. Even after Sam attacks the doctor,
Slices him open with a blade.
and he doesn't go into confinement or
He's
chained
not even
to a
strapped
table.
down. He's
Yeah.
not even, like they give him like a Advil PM and he's just sitting there.
Not even. He's not even. This is before the Advil PM. This is like before that. He's just like in his room. He's like, "Hey, I'm really sorry that happened. I didn't mean to attack you." Like that, he would be chained down and in solitary.
But nonetheless, dude, they wander the halls
Yeah.
free and easy. They
Yes.
go into the room where the morgue.
Yes.
They have access to the saws. They're wandering around nonstop, and the guards
Yeah.
are like, "Hey,
Hey,
but
what are
then
you doing
Don't
here?"
really
Yeah.
try to stop them."
Totally.
Yeah.
So after Sam cuts open the dead body, Martin determines that they must be dealing with a wraith, a creature that feeds on brains, can only be seen in mirrors, and can be killed with silver. Sam is then aggressively kissed by the patient that kissed Dean. Later, Dean sees Dr. Fuller's reflection in a mirror and sees the doctor as the wraith. Sam attacks the doctor with a silver letter opener, but the silver isn't affecting the skin.
That's weird because the wraith skin would burn.
Right. So Dean figures out that seeing Dr. Fuller as the wraith was a hallucination. He also figures out that his therapist, Dr. Cartwright, is also a hallucination. Sam is hallucinating too and fights off imaginary adversaries. That's when he gets locked in the rubber room. And Dean suspects the patient that kissed them both was the wraith. And
Yeah,
that they might have been poisoned by the kiss.
yeah, you know what I'm saying? The old kiss of the poison person.
Martin and Dean
Martin
and Dean pay a visit to the kissing patient, but find Nurse Foreman there, feeding on her with a bone spur
Ugh.
that comes out of her hand, comes out of her wrist.
So gross.
The wraith gets away and attacks Sam. In the nick of time, Dean is able to save Sam and break the wraith's bone spur, and then stabs it with the silver letter opener, killing it.
So gross. By the way, again, nobody seems to give a shit that Dean goes into the rubber room with his brother,
He just gets right in.
breaks on in there.
Yeah. Sam and Dean escape the hospital. Sam wonders about his anger issues. Dean tells him to keep them in check, or he'll end up like Martin.
I'll tell you, man, also that whole scene, they're sprinting their face off to the hidden car and then stop for a 10-minute conversation. And they should be in the process of being hotly pursued because behind them they left what looks like to the untrained eye a murdered doctor.
I know.
So
I couldn't-
at like no point there is there not a APB of every cop in the county
I know.
chasing them.
I know. Sam stabs the doctor, doesn't even get, because he's totally free and sober and everything when he's like, he's totally sorry that I got you with the knife. Didn't mean
Egg
to
on my
do that.
face.
And then remember, the doctor's like, okay, but next time I'm sending you to corporate if that happens again.
To corporate. Dude, it was just,
Yeah.
that last scene was very frustrating to me that they decided to sit there and talk like, it's my anger, Dean. I'm like, get in the car. Have this conversation in the car. Drive.
The episode confused me because there were parts of it that I thought were really genius and I really loved. I really loved the fact that the doctor was all in Dean's mind, and I totally fell for it, thought she was real. The way that it's all introduced, you're not quite sure what's going on, and it's kind of disorienting, the whole thing, and I kind of like parts of that, but then there are other parts of it that just didn't seem real at all.
Well, there's things that they went for. They played some of the things kind of silly sometimes.
Yeah.
And then would also play that same kind of moment kind of serious. And I felt like it took the script took great leaps in assuming these guys can wander around, even getting themselves committed felt.
Yeah,
TV-ish.
honestly, the whole thing felt a little bit like a fever dream. And I don't know, maybe is the joke on us? Is the whole thing supposed to be like a hallucination? I don't know. It plays out not like a real episode. Even the comedy feels a little forced to me here in this episode.
Yeah. John Grease, if that's how you pronounce his last name, the really talented actor, is always great.
Yeah, White Lotus, and also from Napoleon Dynamite. He's great. Yeah. He
does a great job. And I love the fact that he's sort of a representative of Dad's era hunter who's sort of, war torn and paying for his efforts in the field. I thought that was really, really cool.
Yeah.
And I liked having him be a part of the story and him being able to be the guy that helps Dean get out and go after the Wraith. I thoroughly enjoyed the episode. There just was, you had to suspend disbelief in a way that you usually don't in a supernatural episode.
Yes. Agreed. And I'm serious. Like maybe there's a level that we didn't get that's like they did that on purpose because that's the episode is all kind of about like losing your mind and losing reality. But I don't know. I think maybe not.
Well, like I said, a lot really worked. The whole storyline of Dean talking to people who weren't there was really cool. I mean, really talking to the doctor and stuff, I thought was really, really neat. And
seeing the wraiths in the mirror is spooky.
Great gimmick. Really creepy, scary, I thought that was great. And breaking off the bone spur. I mean, just talking about severely gross and, but effective, and you want this person to hurt,
So are we supposed to believe that the Wraith basically got into that other patient and made her kiss them?
No, I think, no. She had nothing to do with it. She said in that scene with Sam that she was able to touch the guys as part of the medical exam. That's how she was like holding his arm while she...
Who was the one who was kissing them? That was just...
Didn't matter. She just was another crazy patient.
She was just a patient.
Who got her brain eaten.
And happened to be hot.
Well, yeah. Hot people can have psychiatric disorders too, Robbie.
I would have liked that character to be...
Not as hot?
No. Maybe not... I mean, she was done up. Her hair is all curled.
Now I got to play doctor here. Do you have a problem with hot people? Is this the origin of your problems with me?
No, the opposite.
So you thought she was too done up, meaning like too made up in the show?
Yeah, it was so CW, man. She was like, she was a crazy person who just happened to look like the hottest woman you've seen.
Yeah, it was TV.
At least do her down and have like kind of greasy hair. And,
like a crazy, like
someone
you would think
of
somebody who's been in a hospital for a while. Yeah, I get what you're saying.
Yes, I know that you enjoyed that part, but like to find out that she was actually just another crazy person, it didn't make any sense to me.
Well, I think it's just sort of one of many things that were a little bit like I said, this script just took some pretty sizable liberties.
Yes. And yet there's bits of it that I really, really, really liked. So
I love Sam fighting the room full of nobody. I like Dean talking to himself and kind of feeling like his own mental stability was being called into question. And the woman who played the doctor was great, calling him out on a lot of that stuff. I thought, and John Grease, great.
Yeah.
Totally played it straight.
And both the nurses, the fake nurse, the doctor that's not really there,
and the Wraith,
both great actresses.
I mean, it's a solid episode. It's just Supernatural usually supersedes or transcends, I should say, a solid episode of TV to be an outstanding episode of TV. And I feel like this is just a nice solid Supernatural episode, but isn't the masterpiece so many episodes are in this show.
Yeah.
Fair?
Sure, fair.
All right. Well, we should dive into the segment here, the Rob and Rich ratings.
Okay, so
we got to talk facial hair, Robert. We got to do this.
I'm trying to think what this facial hair is for me, and I'm gonna go with Prince when he changed his name
to a symbol
and had did his beard so that the symbol was on his face, and the rest of his facial hair was just perfectly manicured. So it's not like there's something about it that real people don't grow beards that way. And you know I love Prince.
Right, you do.
Huge Prince fan. But real people don't grow beards that way. So there's something about I don't buy that you really can grow hair like that on a beard.
Got it.
But at the same time, it's Prince. I love Prince.
I get it. I was going to say I was going to do the something very similar. I was going to give it to Don Johnson, which is a,
Yes.
nice thin layer of facial hair, but obviously not the natural shaped.
Yeah.
It's sort of altered a little bit to be sort of be aesthetically pleasing.
Yes.
But it's not a rugged beard.
Yes. Agreed. That's
so
good.
we're going to give it the artist formerly known as Prince and the Don Johnson.
That's right.
Miami Vice era Don Johnson for those keeping track at home.
Great. One from the 80s, one from the 90s. I think I'm doing 90s era. There you go. Well, one thing that I can say about this episode, it was really well directed. And the
100%. There's elements about the mental breakdown that are just done super well. And
its Sixth Sense level did not see that coming.
Right. The turns were great. I mean, they got me for sure.
And the shots in the mirror of the Wraiths.
All the elements that you and I called out that we liked are very director heavy, by the way.
Totally. And so we had the distinct pleasure of sitting down with, once again, James L. Conway, an accomplished TV producer and director whose credits include Charmed, Smallville, The Magicians, MacGyver, Star Trek Voyager, Star Trek Enterprise, and Star Trek The Next Generation. One of his first directing credits was The Life and Times of Grizzly Adams, a show that Rich guested on.
Oh, man. Talk about a great beard rating.
Yeah, really.
Dan Haggerty.
Recently, he's focused his time on writing novels, including Dead and Not So Buried, Sexy Babe, and In Cold Blonde.
There we go.
And so
let's bring him out.
Here's our conversation with James L. Conway.
Everybody, we are so excited to have James L. Conway back with us. He is an illustrious director who directed fan favorite episode, The Real Ghostbusters. So we talked to him 2 episodes ago. Now he's back with us for this episode to talk about Sam Interrupted. Jamie, thank you for being here. Appreciate it.
So you were telling us a little bit in the last episode we talked to you how you got involved with Supernatural. It really came from a golf game that you had. Yeah.
Which sounds so Hollywood, by the way. Like, I love the fact that this directing job, I'm playing golf with Bob Singer in Beverly Hills, and poof, I'm now directing the show. Like, that's, I feel like cigars were involved and martinis,
It was actually in Vancouver. I think we had talked about my directing the show, and then we said we'll talk more about it and play golf together. I'd love seeing Bob, but I really wanted to do is get on the show because I love it so much.
But that does have that sort of old Hollywood vibe, man. That's cool.
Yes, it does.
I like it. That's neat.
Years before, Bob and I had offices next to each other at Warner Brothers Studio.
Oh, wow.
And that's how we get to know each other.
That's awesome. Hey there, this is Richard Spate, and I hope you're enjoying this episode, but we need to pull over for a second for some messages.
You can shop from anywhere doing pretty much anything. You might shop while working, eating, or even listening to this podcast. And however you shop, we all know and love the thrill of the hunt. But do you also know how to get the thrill of the best deals? Because Rakuten shoppers do. With Rakuten, they get the deals they love with the most savings and cash back. And you can get it too. Start getting cash back at your favorite stores like Sephora, Nike, and even Expedia if you're looking to get some travel in. And getting cash back doesn't mean you have to miss out on sales because those can just be stacked right on top. It's easy to use and based on a simple idea. Stores pay Rakuten for sending them shoppers, and Rakuten shares the money with you as cash back through PayPal or check. Download the free Rakuten app and never miss a deal. Or go to Rakuten.com to start getting the most bang for your buck. That's Rakuten.
Hey there, it's Rachel Ballinger, and I am thrilled to invite you to Rachel Uncensored, my podcast where I get real with my friends and celebrity guests, where we talk about all sorts of topics. From personal stories to hot-button issues, we cover it all. New episodes drop every Wednesday, so make sure you tune in on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts. Trust me, you won't want to miss out on the fun and candid conversations we have here on Rachel Uncensored.
Thanks for supporting Supernatural then and now. And speaking of now, let's go back to the show.
So you had said that you directed some horror in your career, and I feel like there's a lot on display in this episode. That opening scene with where the screws are twisting, the monsters up in the grate, right, and the woman's going crazy that the monster's going to get her.
Yes,
it's great suspense, with the screws twisting. It's real horror movie stuff.
Yeah, I did a horror movie called The Boogans back in 1981. And it's become sort of a cult favorite. And it had all those tropes in it. I always enjoyed pulling out the horror tropes when the time comes right. And they always work. I mean, pushing in and the tight close-ups and stretching the suspense. It's just great.
Yeah, I guess there's a reason why they show up a lot, because they do the job, right?
All cliches are true.
But, I'll say there's elements of horror in this that are really effective, and they're kind of the jump scare style that Supernatural does really well. And you do really well in this episode. And I'm specifically talking about the mirror stuff. Mm-hmm. The reflections was always really cool. It almost had that sort of They Live vibe of like looking through the glasses and seeing the aliens. Like the mirror shots were always really effective. And you're seeing that a lot in this episode, meaning you see two people in the hallway, then Jensen looks and they're Wraiths, or we already see it, and then two more people. So what struck me about that is it's a lot of makeup or visual effect or whatever that was to create the monster. Was that practical? Were those masks? Like, how did you create that look of the creature?
It was makeup. No, it wasn't visual effects. We did almost no visual effects in that show. In fact, one of the most difficult parts of that show was the device I chose for when Jensen would be looking down the hall and have his hallucinations, and it was done with a film camera, not digital. And you would shoot it, and we'd wind it back and shoot it again. And so we would do the shot with a normal camera, then we'd repeat it with this film camera. And it took a lot more time, but it was a very unique, never really been seen before sort of effect.
It was very effective.
But but this whole episode was very difficult, time-consuming to do because there were so many times you were doing two things at once. And then you're in the insane asylum. And for budgetary reasons, they couldn't say a word. So as that big crowd scene is gathering around him and all attacking him, I had to do it with them being absolutely silent because they would have bumped up price-wise, I guess. And they made the lay in the sound later, which made it kind of difficult. But Jared was great. It didn't slow me down a bit.
Wow. Yeah, it's very effective, that shot of when Jensen's hallucinating or whatever. You feel it. You feel it as you're watching it.
And I got I haven't seen this episode before, and, I bought it. Like, it got me. I did not know that he was talking to invisible people. The whole gimmick works really, really well in this show. Did you have to make sure that other background performers weren't looking at Jensen while he's talking to somebody? Like, if he's always talking to somebody who isn't there, how do you not tip the hand to that? Like, was there any sort of conversation about making sure that you didn't reveal that too soon, or there weren't any elements tipping the information at that point?
I don't really remember. I just know that Jared was just such a good actor. It was easy for him to do it.
Right.
I don't remember it to be particularly challenging. That
good
part.
Did you know the doctor was going to be not real, Rob?
No.
Did you have any inclination?
No, I was like, and I love that kind of thing. I love that. This kind of people who are not well in the head, but they don't know that they're not well in the head, when you see that.
Isn't that sort of
exactly. It's a story of my life. It's the name of my...
I think we all sort of feel like we can
it's the name of my biography. Yeah, and then do you remember the pudding line where Jensen says pudding, he drops his pants? We were told that was originally written for Sam, but Jensen and Jared thought it'd be better for Dean to say that line, and they changed it on the day of filming.
Yes, and those kind of things we always had to call in, but generally when they had an idea, the studio would go for it. Because it's usually a very good idea.
Because no one knows those characters better than those two guys.
Yeah, those guys have done their homework.
Exactly right.
Well, I think also in referencing the scene with Sam, Jared fighting the people who are closing in on him, that's pretty intense stuff, because also Jared is not a small fella, and him acting with sort of passion and pent-up frustration as he's spinning around and sort of throwing punches, I would imagine that took a fair amount of choreography, or at least detailed conversations, to be sure that the people closing in didn't actually get an elbow to the jaw, because it's very energetic, that sequence.
Yeah, there's stunt people that are the ones directly around him. But
Okay.
yeah, those were stunt people, the ones that were, directly involved physically. And it was intense. And we did it a few times, and it was difficult for him. But of course, he pulled it off.
Well, nobody throws a punch quite like Jared Padalecki.
The creation of the Wraith and the makeup, that was really, so you had because he looks in the mirror and he seems a lot of different people as the Wraith, right? With that extreme makeup. So you had to make up.
Yeah, because he saw those people that he sees 4 people that hallway who he think, in that mirror when he's kind of coming apart at the seams.
So that you had to make up all those different people, you're saying?
Yeah, that would have all been makeup.
That's
yes.
amazing.
Yeah, man, that's a lot. That's a lot, and it works. And whatever the prosthetics, whatever the mask pieces are. And I'm reading the note here that says that Tony Landala, who created that look, said that he was inspired by extreme cases of syphilis for that.
Oh my God!
For the Wraith look. I don't know where Tony went to high school, but it's upsetting. How much of that are you involved in when it comes to, say, monster creation, that look? For a TV show, obviously, I know they're moving quickly. How detailed is your input in that kind of situation?
That's something that that Bob and Eric would we see the sketches and the test makeup, and they'd sign off on, and I'd have some input, but their input was the most important. That's a showrunner thing. But then on set, as we get ready to go, I've got to look at it and approve it, make sure that it looks right and what they want. So, but the overall design and then initial approval is all Bob and Eric.
Amazing.
It's really, really effective looking because it's creepy as hell. As is that needle thing that comes out of the Wraith's wrist.
Amazing.
Yes.
So what was that gimmick? Was that a practical thing? Like, what was going on there?
I believe it was practical. Yes, I'm thinking now that there was. I'm remembering the gizmo that they showed us. The prop guys showed us where it came out, and yes, that was practical.
Dude, when he broke that thing off,
and then there's a scene where it comes out, and then it comes out even more. Like it really has some depth.
Yeah,
I don't remember if it's sometime visual effects took over on that or not. I don't remember.
No, they broke Jensen broke the thing off. He broke it in half.
Yeah.
It looked so painful.
I love in this episode there are a lot of like Laura Gilchrist plays the Wraith. She's got the one with the thing coming out of her hand.
Yeah,
right.
But at first you think, when you realize that Dr. Cartwright is imaginary, you think maybe she's the Wraith, but she's not. So you're constantly sort of figuring it out in this episode. You never really get ahead of the story. I love that. Do you remember the scene where Sam cuts open the head and reaches in and pulls out the brain?
In the autopsy room?
Yeah.
I do. That was something that we spent a lot of time working on to make sure that, because we only had it was a practical visual effect. It wasn't a visual effect. Oh, it was a visual effect at some point because we had to be locked down and there was some green screen in there and it was very precise the way we had to shoot it. I do remember that part of it. It was not easy to accomplish.
Yeah, no, but it's very effective and you buy it.
Yeah.
I always think it's interesting how, like, I don't know how many years of science class Sam took, but he's always the guy who suddenly he can do an autopsy and suddenly he's skilled with a bone saw.
He's very adept.
Well, after 100 episodes of seeing people torn apart every week, I'm sure he's got good at it.
Yeah, that must be what it is. Michelle Harrison, who played the doctor, did a great job. She was really great at not giving away the gag, not tipping her hat to what's going on, I thought, the whole time. So when she makes that turn, even I, as the jaded viewer, was totally like, whoa. Like when she started riffing off all that information, like, it's your brother, Dean, you're a screw up. It really came out of the blue. And she even played that straight. She didn't become suddenly sinister. Was that her gut instinct as a performer, or did you have to steer her a certain direction in that sort of revelation moment?
She's a wonderful actress, and I believe that may have been she just knew how to play it. I don't think I had to redirect her. She's just rock solid. And,
she's great. She really, really pulled that off. There are a number of references to One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. Were there visual references to, or other references in the episode that you remember?
There was no direct homage, but it was all over the planning of it, the thinking about it.
Right.
Certainly the scenes where you first establish the people in the insane asylum and how they're working and how they act. It's one of those movies that is so embedded in everybody's head that you sort of embrace the comparisons and don't hide or don't run from them. Yeah,
well, it's really well done, and I love the idea that these guys are losing their minds and they can't they can't help it. And they're losing their superpower that makes Sam and Dean, you know.
Right.
But, you know, your directing was top notch once again, and really helped craft what this episode was.
Yeah, I think I liked also the sort of the way you bring back in almost or the script brings back in a peer of their dads to sort of be sort of a touchstone for, you know, the damage that being a hunter can do, if you will,
Right.
when you stay in it. I thought that was really, and I thought the actor played it really well.
You know, that's something that the show always did do, is it didn't take for granted what these guys did. And it always reminded them the price they're paying, the history of what they're doing, the importance of what they're doing. Again and again, it was just reinforced script-wise to keep them more grounded and real, I think, for the audience.
Yeah.
I love that about it.
Yeah, 100%.
I agree. Well, Jamie, thank you so much. Yeah, man, it's so great to have you. You did back-to-back episodes, but I don't think we've seen in all the episodes we've watched and interviews we've done, I don't think we've seen somebody direct one, basically go for a water break and then direct another one. So impressive work doing basically back-to-back episodes, and they're both great. So thank you so much for being here, and thank you for sharing your insights and your time.
My pleasure. I love the show.
Thank you, Jamie.
Excellent.
Hey there, it's Misha Collins. If you're like me, you want a break from the sound of Richard Spate's voice, we'll be right back after this.
Hey, guess what? We're back.
Great talking to that man. He's a veteran of the industry and obviously a bit of a golfer, but also just great insight on this episode. Loved having him for 509 and having him again for 511. Two very different episodes.
Yeah.
Really fun to hear his insights on how he pulls off what he pulls off in these episodes, and really cool stuff.
Yeah. Great stuff. Great
And
to
a
talk
very
to him.
nice man as well.
Yeah, and really directing back-to-back episodes, basically, with one in between.
All right, now it's time for mythology.
A wraith is a type of ghost or spirit whose name originated in Scottish folklore. Oh, boy.
You know, I happen to be a big fan of actor Wraith Fiennes.
Oh, Wraith Fiennes is
so
great.
I wonder if he had anything to do with this episode.
Yeah. I also like his brother Joseph. Wraiths were traditionally said to be the embodiment of souls who are either on the verge of death or who have recently passed on. They were sorcerers or witches who tried to cast a life-extending spell or manipulate time, but something went wrong, and their soul is now trapped on Earth.
Well, traditionally, wraiths, aren't you glad that Lilith wasn't a wraith?
I know, I'm really glad.
Because then it would just be like, well, Lilith the wraith.
If
Lilith... It's a race to the finish with Lilith. Traditionally, wraiths have long black cloaks with skeletal complexions, complete with long corpse-like legs. However, modern depictions or interpretations have them appearing in various forms, like good-looking nurses at a psychiatric ward.
Exactly. Or syphilis victims.
Oh, that too, yeah.
Usually a holy weapon is needed to kill one.
Yeah, because you need holes in it so it breathes.
Right.
Like a cheese grater, I assume, or something like that.
Yeah, right. As opposed to a halfy weapon.
A what?
A halfy weapon. It's a holy weapon.
Oh, my God. Ugh. Much like the script itself, not all the jokes of this podcast are landing.
I thought it was pretty good.
That's pretty good. All right, now it's time for Fun Facts!
The name of this episode is a reference to the film Girl Interrupted.
What's it a reference to?
Girl
Interrupted.
You got me.
Aha.
Misha Collins had a small role in that movie.
Oh, wow. That's great. I never saw it.
Now, here's the other thing. Why is it Sam interrupted and not Dean interrupted?
Nobody interrupts Dean.
Right, but like seriously, they're both... I thought it was going to be like Sam's the one who loses his mind or whatever.
Weirdly, it almost you feel like it would be Dean interrupted because he's the one who has the mental breakdown.
Yeah, more of a mental breakdown, yeah.
The German title is Sam Durchgenaut, which literally translated means Sam, crazy. And in Japan, the title has been translated into a phrase that means the happy fun boat that kills you.
Laura Gilchrist is Nurse Foreman. Dean refers to her as Nurse Ratchet, a character in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, which was directed by Milos Forman.
Look at you. You got it right before you even read it. You knew it.
Yep. Yes, sir.
Dean's line about not having any elephant books when questioned about the use of Babar as a name is a direct reference to the film Fletch.
Haha, look at you. You knew.
I knew it. And it's the original Fletch starring Chevy Chase, not the remake starring John Hamm.
The good one, the classic.
Right.
Well, there you go.
Great episode of the podcast. Great interview with James L. Conway. Really fun time with you, Rob, talking about this episode and just overall good times.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for joining us. We will see you on the next one.
Yes, we will.
This episode of Supernatural features Jared Padalecki as Sam Winchester and Jensen Ackles as Dean Winchester.
Guest stars include Laura Gilchrist, Michelle Harrison, Gwenda Lorenzetti, John Grease, and Malcolm Stewart.
Sam Interrupted was written by Andrew Dabb and Daniel Laughlin and directed by James L. Conway.
Editing by Tom McQuaid, music by Jay Gruska.
Executive produced by Eric Kripke and Robert Singer.
The episode originally aired on January 21st, 2010.
This episode of Supernatural Then and Now was hosted and executive produced by Richard Spade Jr. and Rob Benedict.
Produced by Stephen Hine, written by Stephen Hine and Haida Holscher.
And edited and associate produced by Trey Booty.
Water is up. Booty. Music provided by Tim Wynn.
The episode was recorded with the help of Sonic Fuel Studios.
This podcast is from Storymill Media.
Follow the podcast on Instagram and Twitter at SPN Then and Now.
Become a member of the podcast at www.patreon.com/SPN Then and Now.
Nurse Foreman gives them each thorough exams, including...
What do you mean, Robbie?
A little bit of fingering of the butthole.
I kind of thought you were going to do some sort of clever...
Oh, no? Sorry, I just went with the real answer.
Can you hear the construction going on outside my door? It is so loud out there. I do. By the way, to all the German fans, I apologize.
Yeah, we apologize.
Not easy to cold read German when you don't know the language at all.
Dirk Hegnault. I don't know. We'll see.
Storymill Media.
Contained herein are the heresies of Radolf Burntwine, erstwhile monk turned traveling medical investigator. Join me as I uncover the blasphemous truth of a plague-ridden world, that ours is not a loving God, and we are not its favored children. The heresies of Radolf Burntwine, coming January 2nd, wherever podcasts are available.